Hello everyone and welcome to the video. Today we're going to be covering Wild Assault. We are going to be doing a bit of an extensive guide on each and every single one of the individual characters, starting with the very first. We'll be covering Norman Lostthigh. He's an assault-based character, which is pretty agile and favors quick and tactful assaults on the enemies. Much like a lot of the other assault type characters, he has some varying abilities. So we'll go ahead and start off with some of the first ability that he has. His Q. With his Q, he can very temporarily, in a cone-shaped area, stop enemies from being able to use their weapons. Moving on to his E, he can temporarily give himself a boost in health points. Starting right now, he only has 150. However, when he does use his E, he gets a cap of 180. Additionally, while the stats effect is going on, if he receives any kind of damage, he can regain some of that damage. The stim can also be used as a bit of a healing item, though it doesn't return a lot. The primary benefit from it would be killing someone to gain the additional health back, but it's a very short-lived and it's meant for more of a burst. Moving on to his ultimate, in my experience it allows you to go full feral. However, I personally like to combine his E, which is the health serum, mixed with that mode, which gives you a boost of health and allows you to use the ability Pounce, as shown in the tutorial when you originally played the game. You can, however, use the sprint to be able to get quite a bit of mobility out of the ability, as seen here. Additionally, it should be noted that while you are in this feral state, you can still use your roar. Moving on to the next character, we have Ryan, the tough cop. He's a beefy character with a pretty interesting kit, I'd say. However, most of the interesting parts about this character come after you've leveled him up a little bit. But let's get right on into it. As Ryan, you have two abilities. You have a smoke cloud, which after taking damage, once you've leveled them out, if you enter the cloud, it immediately starts regenerating your health points down below. So if you happen to take damage and you have leveled them up, you can immediately plop down that smoke and a bit of cover, enter it, and you'll immediately start regenerating HP. However, his secondary ability is both a mobile ability, which allows you to charge forward, as well as knock down or knock back enemies. As you can see here, we've taken a little bit of damage from the poison, so we can plop this down, hide in it, and as you can see, we're already regenerating HP. His second ability, as mentioned, is a bit of a maneuverability ability, and it can knock down enemies, which leaves them vulnerable for a killing shot. His ultimate is where things really start to pump up. After you've popped your ultimate, you regenerate one of your abilities. One very particular ability, you charge. So if you happen to charge into a bunch of enemies, you can immediately pop out your ultimate, which brings out a sawed-off shotgun, and it also immediately allows you to perform another charge. These shields can protect you from bullets and projectiles. It is very strong and lasts until your ultimate is done or you are killed. Additionally, the backpack on your back blocks bullets, which can be pretty nice when trying to avoid snipers. However, it does not provide full protection because your lower body is still exposed. The shotgun itself that comes with the shield, it does pack a good bit of a punch. However, it has only a capacity of 2 bullets in the chamber, but it does have infinite ammo until the shield is gone. Moving on to the next Valiant, we have AkaiHime, which actually isn't her name. It is the name of the blade that she carries with her, but regardless of that, she's a very interesting assassin-style character who can get behind enemy lines and does have invisibility capabilities. First ability, she tosses down a spear that allows her to go semi-invisible in the area. What you see is what the enemy can see. You are just a bit of a hollow shadow. This can be used to your advantage when trying to stay hidden from your enemies and get into more interesting places to take them out. One of the passives that she has is anytime she secures a kill, which eventually can turn into just an assist, she will instantly regenerate her abilities, as seen here. She can only have one of these spears up at any point in time, but it can be moved around to help her move around in a semi-protected state. Anytime she does attack or shoot, the spear doesn't protect her. She becomes fully visible. Moving on to her second ability, she can slide around and shoot. She can also use it to perform a sliding dagger attack. This sliding dagger attack can be slightly extended with a bit of a hop and then a melee attack as well, which allows you to get a little bit more of a distance and does make it a pretty interesting maneuverability that does allow you to cover some pretty good distances. With her ultimate, it does get a little more interesting though. It extends her capabilities, making the spear much larger than it previously was. Additionally, anytime she slides, she becomes invisible, leaving behind a decoy for the enemies, which eventually just disperses. While this doesn't increase her overall damage in general, it does make her a more interesting and more distracting opponent, allowing her to cover more of an area undetected. As previously stated though, once she does get a couple of levels in, she can eventually turn assists into her refreshing her abilities through her ultimate talent in the ability tree. Moving on to the next character, we have Jack, the Lone Tracker, a wolf-style character that particularly seems to enjoy ranged attacks. He can also be used with semi-close quarters weapons such as assault rifles, SMGs. He also has the optional DMRs, as well as the sniper rifles and crossbow. This particular character likes to take it at a range distance, keeping his enemies at bay and covering his allies. To start, he has his E, which allows him to see temporary targets periodically through other objects, highlighting them so that way he can more easily close the killing shot. Coming in next, we have his Q, which can be attached to enemies, and you can also use it while scoped, though sometimes it bugs out if you are behind cover. As seen here, sometimes it does bug out a little bit, but you can just stand up and use it, or you can just back up a little bit. The beautiful thing about this is you can attach it to enemies and it will kill them, as well as any nearby enemies sometimes. However, the primary use of this beautiful ability is in combination with his E, his Howl. Once you've leveled him up some, any damage he deals to an enemy will temporarily reveal that enemy for him and for his allies. As previously said though, his Q is best used with his E, his Howl, because you can see enemies through cover and you can use it to pierce cover and kill the enemy on the other side with the lethal strike. He's primarily meant to be used at distance, helping cover allies. His scopes vary anytime from 6 times magnification all the way up to 10. Once he's killed sufficient enemies, his ultimate allows him to call in an area mortar on the marked area. Keep in mind, you have to use this from this stance. You cannot zoom in with any form of scope. But once you've placed it down, he will howl and mark an entire area to be mortared and bombarded with heavy fire. Anything in that area will be marked and will be damaged. Moving on to the next character, we have Crock, the Mire Butcher. A crocodile-style character that heavily excels at close quarters and ambushing. With his talent ability once leveled up, after triggering the Fear Spread, he continuously restores health. Additionally, this unit cannot reveal themselves in the map, or will not reveal themselves in the map. Starting with his first ability, we have his Tomahawk that he can toss at enemies and reveal other enemies using it. This ability, if you happen to headshot an enemy with, will instantly kill. For some reason, it does not seem to work well on these targets. For his second ability, he has his knife, which, as you can see there, will mark a target, allowing you to lunge even further and deal damage to them. This can also be used as a great maneuverability tool. While he has the knife out, he can move quite fast, allowing him to traverse areas. While he also does have his knife out, he can still use his Q as well, allowing him to really move around the battlefield. Moving on to his passive, whenever he does kill an enemy, he can go up to where they previously were. There will be this little shadowy spot, and he can walk up to it and, in essence, confirm the kill, revealing enemies in the area for all allies. This is extremely useful intelligence that he can use to plot his next move and to notify allies where enemies are. Moving on to his ultimate, it is another intelligence-based piece of intel for him. Once he uses it, he will be able to see enemies within a pretty good radius around him through any obstacle. Additionally, whenever he kills an enemy, it extends the duration up to a max of 25 seconds, allowing him to really get in and do damage against the enemies. As soon as he gets down, though, it is game over for the ability. It immediately ends. But until then, he can keep using the ability and keep dealing damage to the enemies. Moving on to the Righteous Flame, Vladmir the Bear. He's a very big character that likes to use very big weapons. His special ability talent is whenever he deals damage to an enemy, they get reduced healing by 60% for a certain period of time. Let's dig right on into this one. He has a gasoline canister that he can throw at enemies. He can either throw it on the ground or up in the air. Additionally, if he does happen to throw it up in the air, he can shoot it to cover a wider area, denying the area from the enemies. His second ability is a beautiful barricade/shield. He can use it to provide cover for allies and friends. Additionally, if he doesn't like the spot, he can just pick it back up, reducing the cooldown for placing it down again. This ability is great because you can place up to a max of 2 of them, providing a massive amount of cover for yourself or for your allies. Additionally, for the gas canister, you can just toss it on the ground and forget about it. It will eventually just detonate on its own, providing a bit of a smaller area, more concentrated, good for blocking doorways or small corridors. Moving back to the shield for a moment, if you do happen to have two shields up and you need to move forward or move back, if you pick them both up, you can almost instantly get a full shield back. Moving on to his ultimate, he pulls out the Fury Cannon, which fires 2 cannonballs dealing blast damage nearby. This does decent AoE damage and does some pretty okay direct damage as well, allowing him to fire quite rapidly and deal a lot of damage to concentrated areas against the enemies. However, it runs out pretty quickly. Moving on to the next character, we have Deadly Toxin, Marquez. She is a skunk style character who has a great proficiency in area denial. Her ultimate ability talent is enemies that have taken damage recently have their healing reduced by 60% for a certain period of time, which for her is quite phenomenal. Her passive talent is whenever she happens to take damage, she gets her abilities back a little quicker. Additionally, she can move and use aim down sights much more efficiently, allowing her to stay focused on the task at hand. Starting with her first ability, we have her Q, which allows her to launch toxins from great distances or short distances, denying an area to the enemies. Any enemies in the area will immediately start taking damage over time, as seen in the area here. Moving on to her second ability, which is a mine. This mine can be triggered by enemies, or you can toss it down and immediately trigger it yourself, allowing you to provide even more area denial to your enemies. This beautiful mine can be attached to many surfaces, from the sides of structures all the way to ceilings if you can manage them. It should be noted though that the higher up a mine is, the less of an area it will cover. You can have a plethora of mines out on the battlefield at any point in time, allowing you to set traps for your enemies to find, or on strategic areas, allowing her to really control the battlefield narrative to some degree. Moving on to her ultimate, it allows her to spray the entire battlefield with several toxins. You can change this from a horizontal to a straight line, and you can use it to really deny an area. Do keep in mind that this can hit objects, and if you do happen to hit too many objects, for example, if I were to use it over here, it would more than likely hit that 3 with all the projectiles. This area does last for quite a bit. Moving on to the land diver, Uli, or Ulai. His ultimate ability is allies deployed / transported through his abilities get a damage reduction for 3 seconds. Additionally, he is highly alerted, and whenever he is being attacked, he's more attuned to what direction he's being attacked from. Starting with his first ability, he uses his little drill car. This drill car can be driven manually, or you can just toss and forget it towards enemies. When it gets too close to enemies, or you can manually trigger it, you can just explode the car. This car can be used to kind of slide in between enemy lines and do a good bit of damage to them. And here is the car if you just toss it and forget it. It'll just go into the enemies. When it gets too close, it'll just trigger and explode. This can be shot at and destroyed by enemies. However, when they do that, it will just immediately trigger, still allowing it to get that detonation off, but being denied getting too close to friendlies or enemies. Moving on to his E, he can slide around underground. He can still be shot, however, when he pops up, he provides a portable little resurrection/respawn spot, allowing allies who have died to respawn on the point, as seen here. That stays around until it is killed by the enemies. You can additionally re-dive back down from this spot at any point in time and pop out in a new location, moving it. When his ultimate is ready and you use it, it upgrades all of his abilities, including the car. This time when you launch the car, anything caught by the car will be killed. Additionally, it buffs his tunneling ability. Unfortunately, you can only use one or the other. If you choose to use the upgraded tunnel versus the upgraded little motor car, it drastically improves the tunnel, allowing you to start a tunnel, and create a tunnel that can be used by any and all allies. Starting at one point and allowing them to tunnel to where you put it, allowing you to get behind enemy lines with allies. It also acts as a spawn point as well. Do beware that little line though of dirt can be seen by friend and foe, as seen here. There are two respawn points. Moving on to the next character, we have Vanguard Will, also known as Zhenshan. He is a panda-style character who has a ultimate talent of reducing enemy healing after being damaged, much like a couple of the characters in this line. He prefers more heavier style weapons and has a more support style role to a degree, helping cover fire and helping break through enemy defenses. For his first ability, we have his rocket launcher, which is a burst style launcher, known as Panda Chaos of Fire. You must hold the trigger down to start the burst fire process, but once you do, you can do direct damage or you can do splash damage with it, and it has a pretty short cooldown to it. For his second ability, we have a block style ability. When he uses the block ability, it will purge the area of any smoke, poison, or fire. It also allows him to block bullets or projectiles, such as poison blobs or mines being tossed in the general area. Additionally, it should be noted that once he does use the ability, he can use his weapon, but it does seem to cancel a piece of the effect. This could just be personal loadings, but I think it should be worth noted that you can still at the very least use your weapon while that is active. Moving on to his ultimate, which is a mortar. This mortar can have up to 3 charges at any one point in time. You can fire at any time between then and the max amount of charges. Once you do have the max amount of charges though, it is best fired off. However, when you are firing it, do keep in mind that this is how it shows up, and you can see enemy pings from firing. It is best to fire at those pings, or at stationary targets that you know, allowing you to breach the enemy's defenses. Moving on to the final two characters, we have Medic Angel Hong-Ying. He's a rabbit-style character who immediately can, with their ultimate attempt, allies within that are healed by them automatically start the auto HP regen healing, meaning the normal healing sequence that a player would do outside of combat, she can immediately trigger that by healing an ally. Additionally, she has a pretty significant jump height. Starting with her first ability, she can toss down a healing zone. This healing zone will heal any and all allies within the area that happen to be damaged, and with the ultimate talent, immediately start their auto HP regen. Additionally, as mentioned, her jump height is significantly higher compared to other Valiants, allowing her to reach pretty extreme heights and get into some unique areas that other allies can't get to. Also to note, with her first ability, you can immediately cancel it and restart the ability cooldown by picking it up. Moving on to her second ability, her E, which allows her to dodge forward or roll, allowing her to take evasive maneuvers in case they're in a pretty hasty or bad spot when trying to pick up allies. Additionally, if she does happen to deploy her healing device and an ally is down, or she tosses it at a downed ally, it will immediately deploy a smoke field to help cover. Moving on to her ultimate, her Z. If she happens to activate it, she emits a healing radius, and any allies within that healing radius immediately start being revived, allowing her to get in and out of hairy situations to a degree while helping try to cover allies. However, it does put you in a pretty vulnerable state, because if you do happen to not be covered by other allies, you can end up going down pretty easily. Moving on to the last character, we have the Entangled Erwin, another support class hero. This one is a feline. Much like the rabbit, they do have a bit of a healing ability. When they heal an ally, they also restore 7.5 HP per second. I believe this is to Erwin herself. Additionally, she makes less noise when walking and climbing walls. Starting with her first ability, it is a dual-purpose ability. Her first ability allows her to use a glove that she has to heal and resurrect allies from a bit of a distance. It is a bit of a good distance, allowing her to stay behind cover and help allies. However, if you do happen to have an ally in your back, it can be a little finicky sometimes to use. Additionally, the glove can be used to self-heal. Moving on to her second ability, her E, allows her to move faster, and it allows her to heal more effectively when healing allies, allowing her to heal them quicker. It has a pretty good length of how long the ability lasts, and allows her to deal out quite a bit of healing before having to worry about taking the ally taking a bit too much damage. Moving on to her ultimate. I personally like to nickname it Catnip in a Can. Catnip in a Can. What it does is you can toss it to an ally, and when the ally has that, it increases their reload speed as well as their max health. This ability does last a good bit, and it also, if they happen to die, it transfers to another teammate nearby until the effect fully wears off, allowing you to kind of toss it and forget about it. Well, I hope that was a bit of a helpful little bit for you guys, and I hope that you learned something from this guide. I hope you all have a wonderful day now. Please like and subscribe for more. Hopefully I'll be able to pull out some more Wild Assault content in the future. Take care, everyone, and bye-bye.